Hi you guys, so today we're making boot toppers. They're super cute, super fun to make. They were super quick as well. They have these little laces across the front of them, and then they have a little bow and some pom-poms. So cute. I love how they turned out. You can put them at the top of your boots. You can make them as long as you want. If you want to make them like super tall and make them into leg warmers, you can totally do that. I love how they turned out. They're so fun. I'll go ahead and give you the measurements for them right now. These are 6 inches across. This is just what mine came out. Yours may come out different depending upon the yarn or the needles that you use. And then from the top to the bottom is 7 inches. And then the ribbing portion is 2 inches on the top and the bottom. This one is slightly under 2 inches on the bottom portion. But you can do whatever you like again. If you like more ribbing, so you can totally modify it to your own preferences. We're going to start off with 64 stitches to make these, but if you want to make them smaller or larger, you can increase by 4 stitches, smaller or larger, or in sets of 4 stitches. So if you wanted to do, 8 stitches, smaller or larger, you could do that. All right, let's go ahead and get started. Let's go over what we need to make these. So we need a crochet hook. I'm using a size G crochet hook, and this is just to make the tie portion, the little lace. And I'll show you how to do that in our tutorial. And then we'll just need a tape measure, a pair of scissors, some stitch marker, and then a tapestry needle. And then I have some knitting needles that I'm using. I'm using size 6 of double pointed needles, and then I have a size 6 of circular needles. Now you can use either one, whichever that you prefer. And then I also have size 7 of the circular and then size 7 of the double pointed needles. And these circulars, I happen to have them. This one's in a 9-inch and then this one's in a 10-inch. And it's just what I happen to have on hand. You can use whatever you like. And we have a little mini pom-pom maker. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. I do have a pound of love in olive that was partially used, so I'm going to go ahead and use that. Okay, so I'm going to pull some yarn off of the ball just so I have enough so I could cast on, and we're going to go ahead and do a long tail cast on. I'm going to go ahead show you the cast on with the double pointed needles. So we're going to use the size 6 4mm 10-inch circulars. What I'm going to go ahead and do is make a slip knot to begin. So I'm going to cross the yarn over, make it into like a loop like that, and then bring the yarn around the back and pull it through. Then I'm going to take my circular needle. So I'm going to go ahead and just tighten it up, but not too tight. I'm going to hold it loosely. So it's kind of loosely on the needle still. You can see there's some space in there. And so I'll cast on loosely so it's not hard to get over my ankle. So I'm going to go ahead and cast on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take one yarn in one hand and then another yarn in the other hand, just like this. And then I'm going to go ahead and go like this and then through like that. And that's how you do the long tail cast on. So you go around this, you pick up that one on your pointer finger, and then you just tighten it up a little, but you want to keep it loose. So what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to go ahead and cast on 64 stitches. Okay, so I have 2, 4, 6, 8. I'll go ahead and cast on 64 stitches and then I'll catch back up with you. Okay, so now I have 64 stitches on my size 6 circular needle, and it's a 10-inch. Next, what I'm going to do is make sure that I have all of my stitches along the bottom of my circular needle. And then I'm going to have both of my yarns, my working yarn and then my tail, hanging off of the right-hand side. And then the other side doesn't have any yarn hanging off of it yet. What we're going to go ahead and do is do our ribbing portion of it. So we're going to go ahead and I'm going to bring the yarn to the back just like this, both of the tail and the yarn attached to the ball to the back. And then we're going to go ahead and put our needle in and do knit 2. And I'm going to knit both strands. I'm just going to knit the tail in so we don't have to weave it in later. So I'm going to do knit 2. And then I'm going to go ahead and do purl 2. And I'm using both strands to knit with. So knit 2, and then bring the yarn to the front and purl 2. Okay, and now what I'm going to do is drop my tail and just start knitting and purling with the other strand of yarn, the one attached to the ball. So this one is the one that's attached to the ball. This one is my tail. There's my tail. All right, so then we're going to move on with just knitting with the one strand. And so we're going to knit 2, and then we're going to bring the yarn to the front and purl 2. And this is called ribbing, and it just makes a nice, like, stretchy portion like you would have around a cuff or around the top of a sock or around the top of a mitten. Okay, so we're just doing knit 2, purl 2. We're going to go ahead and do that all the way around, and we're going to keep going until we've done that for 2 inches. So the portion that we're creating on our boot topper is this portion right here, and it makes this nice ribbing, and it makes it stretchy. So those are our knit 2s, and then these are our purl 2s in the middle. Knit 2s and purl 2s in here. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and continue on with my ribbing until it reaches approximately 2 inches. But you can do whatever you'd like. If you like it taller, you can do taller. If you like it shorter, you can do shorter. It's definitely up to you. So we'll continue on with our ribbing. Knit 2. And then bring the yarn to the front and purl 2. Okay, and so this is what it's looking like. It's just like a little first round of the knit 2, purl 2. All right, I'll go ahead and catch back up with you when I get some more ribbing on the needle. Okay, I just wanted to catch back up with you when I met up with the beginning of the round, and this is what it looks like. Basically, when I met up with the beginning of the round, the first few stitches, because I held 2 yarns together, it looks a little different, but what you'll go ahead and do are these are the 2 knit stitches, that pair and that pair. So I'm going to go ahead and knit those. And then I'm going to bring the yarn to the front. And then purl the next 2. And then knit the next 2. Purl the next 2. Okay, and then we're back with the single yarns where we weren't holding 2 together, but basically what we did was we just went ahead and knitted our end in, just so you don't have to weave that in later. You can just trim it off. So that's just a little quick and easy kind of tip. If you'd like to go ahead and work the 2 strands together for the first few stitches so that you don't have to weave those in later. And then we can just trim this piece off later. I'm going to continue on with my knit 2, purl 2 ribbing, and I will catch back up with you when I get to 2 inches. Okay, we're back, and I'm just checking in with you. I thought that I would let you know that at about this point, I'm going to go ahead and put on there a stitch marker so I can tell where the beginning of my round is. So I can tell that this is where I carried the yarn along, and this is where I began right here. I'm just going to go ahead and put a marker in here just so I have an idea of when we switch off of the ribbing to the knitting portion in the next section where we're going to do it, that we're at the beginning of the round. So I'm going to go ahead and just mark that stitch right there, and we'll go ahead and keep doing our ribbing. But this is what it's looking like so far. All right, I'll catch back up with you when we get the 2 inches of ribbing knit on here. Okay, so I am back. I've measured it and we're just about at 2 inches of ribbing. And so basically we just created this bottom portion of our boot topper. And then we're going to go ahead and switch over to knitting. And what I did was I used our size 6 needle, 4.0 millimeter. And I'm going to go ahead and switch over to size 7 needle, 4.5 millimeter. And in order to do that, I'm just going to knit, because I'm changing to knit stitch at this point. I'm just going to knit each stitch onto the new needle. I'm not going to like move them over and then start knitting. I'm just going to do this. I'm not doing my ribbing any longer. I'm just going to knit every stitch. So I'm just going to knit every stitch onto my size 7 needles, and then I will catch back up with you when I get them all put on there. Okay, just knit the last one onto the other needle, and so now they're all transferred over to the other size needle. I'm going to go ahead and move my marker up to the needle. And then I'm just going to continue knitting. We're just knitting every stitch. Just like that all the way around. And so right now we're in this portion of the boot topper. We've just went to knitting every stitch, and we've moved up 1 size in needle. So we like the just the smaller size in the needle, especially around the ankle, so that it has more stretch and it's tighter around the ankle. And you can use, when you're doing the top part, you can use the same size, the size 7, if you like this top part to be bigger, because that top part of your leg is larger than your ankle. So you can continue on with the size 7 needle all the way through the knitting and then through the ribbing. Or if you have a thinner leg, or you're making it for a child, or you just want a tighter ribbing, whatever you'd like, you can go ahead and switch back to the size 6 needle like we did. Just like this, we would just do the ribbing onto the other size needle at this point when we change it. You can do whichever you'd like, because these are your project. You should make it whatever works for you, whatever works for the person that you're making this for. If you're making it for someone with small ankles and small legs, you want to do the smaller size needle at the ribbing, maybe. You know, it's up to you. You can do whatever you like. Or if you're making it for someone who's larger, you want to do maybe a larger size up here if you know their leg is larger. So, all right. So I'm going to go ahead and continue knitting around, and then let me see how many inches. It's 3.5 inches of knitting between here and here. So we're going to go ahead and do 3.5 inches of knitting between there and there. And then I'll catch back up with you, and that's knitting every stitch all the way around. Okay, so I am back, and I knit the portion from the ribbing all the way up to where we're going to start the top ribbing. So all of this, and it's just over 3.5 inches on my sample, but of course you can make it whatever size you want, however tall you want them to be. I just got to 3.5 inches. And then on the next part that I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and make this little lace portion. We're going to do that next. So I'm going to go ahead and just lay this down for now, right up here. And what I'm going to do is get out my ice yarn. I'm just using Ice Yarn Favorite in an off-white colorway that I had in my stash. I'm going to go ahead and pull some off the ball, and we're going to take a hook. Now I'm just using, this is just a hook that I had on hand. It's a size G hook in furls. So I'm going to go ahead and just like this, cross the yarn over the front, bring the yarn around the back, pull it, make a slip knot, and then tighten it around my crochet hook. We're just doing basic crochet, so this should be not too bad. We're going to go ahead and yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through. This is just called a chain. So we're just going to make this really long chain. And I'm going to make it, I'm going to err on the side of making it too long. And then I'll show you my trick to make it the exact right size at the last minute. Okay, I'm going to need it longer than this. I'm just going to make it really long. I'm just going to take a look at it, kind of maybe make it like, okay, I want to cross it once, and then I'm going to cross it again, and then I need long enough to make bows, and I think I need it longer still. But, you know, if you're making a tall boot topper, or you're even putting this on maybe like a leg warmer, you could do that. And you could make it really tall. So you might need a lot of this chain if you were doing that sort of scenario. Because I do have a leg warmer tutorial. I could link that up above, and then you could use the leg warmer tutorial and make this and put this on the leg warmer tutorial. That would be cool. Okay, I'm going to say that's probably long enough. I'm going to leave a little extra yarn on there in case I need to make it longer at the very end, which I could do as well. So I'm just going to pull that through, make a little knot, because we can pick that out later if we need to. So I'm going to go ahead and pick up my boot topper. And then I'm just going to go ahead and use my crochet hook to feed it through. So I'm going to look and see how I did this one. Okay, so the side of one of these over to the other side of one of those. So that I have 3 ribs in the middle of my area. So I have three of these sections, the purl sections in the middle. So I'm going to go ahead and put my hook in right here. And then I'm going to put my hook in to where it comes out on the same row, but over here on that 3rd rib. So I have the purl section here, and purl section here. And then I'm going to go ahead and just use my crochet hook to bring it through. Just like that. Okay. So I have it at the one side of this over to the other side of this, just like that, with 3 of these purl sections in the middle. It's coming out on either side. So that's how I did mine. You can do yours whatever width you'd like. It's totally up to you. Okay, now I'm just making these the same, like so they're even. This one needs to be a little bit longer. There we go. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and cross them over. And then when I look at my sample, I have, and I'm just trying to match it and do what I did on my first one. So you can do whatever you like on yours, but I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I have 7 rows in between here and the next one. So I'm going to go ahead and count 7 rows. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Actually, I'm gonna go up 2 and kind of pull it through like that. And then I'm going to go ahead and pull through. I'm going to crisscross it, so I'm going to go this way, pull that one through here. Just like that. So now it looks like this. Just like that. And then we're going to crisscross this one over like this. And then we're going to do that same thing on this side. We're going to count 7 rows up. which is there, and then I'm going to go up above, like 2 rows above, and pick up 2 little rungs, just like that, and pull this through. And you can do this however you like. You can do it, you can put it on a little darning needle if you want, if you have one with a big enough eye. But I just find this is pretty easy. And I like this to be kind of loose so that when you put your leg in it that it stretches. So I don't want this to be tight, I kind of want it to be loose. Okay, and then we're going to crisscross it one more time, just that same exact way. And I'm just making sure I'm in that same row. Okay, so it looks like that. Perfect. And then I want to just make sure that they're kind of loose. I mean, basically you just want to be able to stretch it to the, you know, the fullest stretch. Okay. All right, and then the next thing we want to do is tie it in the middle, and then we'll create our bow. Okay, just like that. I like that. That looks pretty good. And then the next thing I want to do is make the length of the string, like in this other example, I want to make them shorter so that they don't hang down below here, but you can do whatever you like. And if I decide I want to do that, I want to go ahead, I'm going to go ahead and cut this just like this. Don't be worried. Just like that. And then I'm going to pick out a couple of just little crochets. Okay, like I pulled it through and tightened it. So you just undo it like that, and then you tighten it just like that. And then it makes it just a little bit shorter, just like that. I'm going to do the same thing on this side. I'm just going to cut it just a little bit longer than I want it to be. And then I'm going to pick out a couple of chains. And then just tighten it just like this. So then you can make it whatever length you'd like. Okay, so we're back, and the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to make these little pom-poms for the end of the ties. So I'm going to go ahead and move this out of the way. And we've got this little pom-pom maker, and it opens up like that. And then I'm going to just go ahead and take some more of the off-white yarn that I made this chain tie with. And then I'm going to go ahead and start wrapping around it. And now if you want to go fast, you can double strand it, like do 2 strands at once. But I'm just going to go ahead and do this. And so I just made smaller balls, so I'm going to use less yarn. I'm not going to fill it really full. Okay, so now I have it closed, and the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and snip right in here. Just like that, making sure that there's no strand going across, or else you won't be able to tie the center part tight. So I'm going to set that down. I'm going to get like a strand of yarn that's doubled over. I'm going to use just something like about this long. Okay, my video cut out on my first one, my first attaching the pom. It was like right where I attached the pom to the little lace. And so we're right here, we have our pom-pom maker, and then we have it all trimmed. I went through and trimmed it all, like just like that. Then I went ahead and got a piece of yarn, and I doubled it over about this long. Maybe that's about, I don't know. Each side is about, I don't know, 9, 10 inches, I'm not sure. So then we're going to go ahead, and in this little slot right here, we're going to go ahead and put the yarn just like this, and we're going to tie a knot just like that, and then we just pull on it, and then it ties our pom-pom into a little pom-pom, with this being the main string in the middle of the pom-pom. So I double knotted it, then I turned it upside down, and I double knotted again. This is just what I do. You can do whatever you like. go. And then we open up the sides, the yellow sides, and then we pull these sides apart, just like that. This is what it looks like. It's quite messy at this point. I'm going to move that out of the way, and then we're going to go ahead and trim it with our scissors. I trimmed it quite small because I want a little palm. Okay. All right, so then we have our little palm. Then we go ahead and put the palm through the end of the chain. I don't go in this bottom one. I go like one up from that. And then I'm going to go ahead and just pull it through, just like that. And then I take both of these sides of the original palm and I just tie it in a knot, a double knot. Now you can do this however you like. This is just how I do it. And then what I did was I went ahead and cut it so that it was like the length of the palm. And then the strands just went into the palm, just like that. Now I have this original string that was coming off the bottom of the chain, and I just take that with a little darning needle and then just weave it in with the darning needle up the chain. This is just how I did it. You can do whatever you like, whatever you think is easiest. Okay, just like that, and then I trimmed it. Okay, so now we have our little palms. Now you can trim these if you find like a stray hair that seems long. That's a little long. Okay. All right, so we have our little bow with our palms on the end. It looks so cute. Now we're going to go ahead and finish the ribbing at the top. So I'm going to go ahead and change you to another camera view and do the ribbing at the top. Okay, now we're back. What I'm going to go ahead and do is do knit 2, purl 2 on the ribbing. And so at this point right now, I still have the size 7 needles in there, and I'm going to keep my size 7 needles in my version. You can change back to the size 6 if you have a more slender leg, if you are worried at all about this top ribbing being not tight enough. Maybe you want it to be really snug, like the bottom one we did in the 6. And the top one on this one, I did it in the 7 on this first version of it because I have, my leg is larger up higher and I just didn't want it to be tight or restrictive in any way. But you can do whatever you like. If you prefer, if you're making for a child or if you have a smaller leg, you're worried about it being tighter, it's best to size down on ribbing just so it is tighter. But you can do whatever you like. I just am telling you what I did for mine. And I did a size 6 on this ribbing, size 7 to knit this part, and then a 7 on the ribbing on the top. So I'm going to go ahead and continue on with my size 7 on the ribbing on the top. I'm going to knit 2. I'm going to knit 2 at my marker. And then I'm going to bring the yarn to the front and then purl 2. And you can start this anywhere you are in the round. I'm just starting it at where I had my marker, the beginning of my round. Okay, and I'm just doing knit 2, purl 2. So I've got 2 knits. Move that little tie out of the way. Bring the yarn to the front and then do 2 purls. Then bring the yarn to the back and do 2 knits. And bring the yarn to the front and do 2 purls. Okay, and then I'm going to continue on with that until I have the right length of ribbing that I desire. So on this original one, I'm just going to measure it for you. This one I have 2 inches of ribbing on the top. Okay, so I'm going to meet back up with you when I have the 2 inches of ribbing on the top, and then we'll do the next step. I really love how these are turning out. They're so adorable. Okay, so we are back, and I have knit 2 inches of ribbing you know, that you can knit whatever you'd like. If you want to knit more or less, that's totally up to you. That's just what I chose to knit. And then I'm back at the beginning of my round, and I'm going to go ahead and bind off. And so all that you do when you bind off is you go ahead and you knit the first stitch, and then you knit the next stitch, and then you slip the first stitch over the second stitch, and then just do that loosely. If you do it too tight, it'll be kind of hard to get around your leg. I did this one really loosely. See how it's like really loose and it's stretchy. We don't want that part to be tight. So we just keep going with that. We purl the next one. Or you can just bind off in all knit stitches if you're just comfortable with that. And then you slip the first stitch over the second stitch. And then you purl the next one. And then you slip the first stitch over the second stitch. And then the next two stitches are knit stitches. So you would knit these, knit, and then slip, and then knit. Just making sure to knit loosely, and then slip. Then you bring the yarn to the front, and then you would purl. And then bring the first stitch over the second one, drop it. Okay, and so this is what it looks like. It's all bound off right here. You just keep going all the way around until you've bound off your whole top of your boot topper. Just like that. I will meet back up with you when I have that done. I have one more step that I want to tell you about, so I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back, and I did the last bind off, and then I just pulled it. And then what I want to do is go ahead and use a darning needle and then weave in the end. That's just what I do usually. And then I'll go turn it over to the back side. And then I'll weave it up and down one of the ridges. Okay, and then we'll just do the same thing with the bottom end. We'll just weave that in. And because we knit this into the stitches, we don't have to weave it very far on this one. You don't even have to weave it at all because we knit and purled it in the first couple of stitches. All right, the one last trick that I want to tell you about is behind this bow. What I did was I secured the back of the bow so it would stay up like this. And what I did was I just got a piece of the yarn, of the off-white yarn, or whatever yarn you're doing the lace in. Just cut that. And then what I did was I went behind it, behind the top of the little knot. Just like that. And I picked up the back of the knot in there, just like that, if you want to, you see that little stitch right there? And then I just tied it in a knot right here. And basically I just tacked that knot up there, and if I wanted to, I could untie this, like cut this little knot and let it loose so I could take the lace off in the future. If I wanted to like switch out the lace or remove it or something like that, I could do that. So I really like how that looks. I really like how that turned out. It's not gonna it's secured behind the knot right here, and it's not gonna droop when you're wearing it. And I really like how that looks. It's really cute. I love how they came out. They're super adorable. Oh my gosh. You guys have to make them. They're super easy, super fun to make, and they were really quick. So they would be a good gift. Okay, you guys, I'll see you next time. Bye.